The member from Bethel used the same analogy I like to use when the numbers are really big and bring it down to the family and how, what you prioritize and where you save money and where you make cuts and such. So I'm not going to go through that again, except to say that in a family, we do not balance our own accounts by sacrificing the needs of our children. And the primary ones are health and education. So this budget takes $69 million, cuts to education, and that is direct classroom services, inevitably compromised. It takes cuts to the Council on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. It impacts our ability, the ability of those workers to respond to the victims of violence, to shelter them, and to work to prevent future incidents. Cuts public health, cuts social workers who rescue abused children and the victims of violence, cuts the university, cradle of innovation, invention, the education of young leaders. Mr. President, what I see, and many others of us see, as the flaws in the budget are the result of this body's failure to take real steps for new revenue. We cut the fat, we cut the bone, we're past the muscle, we're well into the bone, and we're crippling our state. And we're also prolonging and deepening the recession. The first committee meeting that I attended this year was the Labor and Commerce Committee meeting, and the chair had arranged a panel of people with various expertise in varieties of parts of the economy, and they talked about the definition of a recession and what the options were and what the best choices were. And if I might, Mr. Chair, I go back to those all the time. I read my own notes, I read their presentations, and I did that this morning. And if I could read just briefly, Mr. Chair. Joe Beadle, who's the chair of Northrim Bank, I know he's a Republican. I looked him up this morning, and I suspect he would be proud to describe himself as a staunch conservative. And these are the things he said, and I've taken a few sentences out of context of the whole just because we don't need to read things that aren't necessarily to the point here. But in the discussion about revenue and a fiscal plan, he said, do it now because it takes 2 years. It's time to pay. Use of the permanent fund earnings is okay. Lowering state expenses has marginal impact. Citizen-supported government is normal. Delay is costly, and it's well past time. Mr. Chair, Mr. President, I can't support the budget. I want us to refocus our priorities, and I want us to move the state forward, not deeper into the ground. And, my takeaway from that meeting overall, which it may have been the most impactful meeting I've actually ever attended, but the takeaway was what we do or do not do this year in the legislature will deepen and prolong the recession, or we can start to bring it up. And I don't think this budget takes us there.